Factionless. We bow to Christ. No left, no right. Just truth and light. Oh, 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 oh. Factionless.
All right. I don't know. Oh, it's my phone. Let's try this again. Welcome to the first episode of Factionless. Today I'm going to be covering what happened in Charlotte with Irina Zurutska. I know I'm getting her name right, wrong. So forgive me. So before I get into this, I need to know if we have audio. Can you hear me? Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. All right. Awesome. There might be a bit of a delay, but I'm sure you guys can see me and you can hear me because I can see my mic showing up on the mixer. Awesome. So I was not going to talk about this at all because sometimes it feels redundant to cover all these atrocious crimes that are happening in the U.S., right? And then nobody really cares. It just goes to the wayside. But my husband made a really good point. He said, you should use your platform to talk about this, especially given, his family's involvement in the Charlotte justice system. And I yeah, why not? So I looked a little more into the story and it was super tragic. Yeah, we're going to figure out. The clip is good. It's just playing in the background for now. I was testing it out. But when I was examining the context of this case, right, I found that there seems to be a revolving door with criminals in Charlotte. And of course, across the nation, we're seeing recidivism rates are dumb high. So let's just get into the story real quick. 22-year-old or 23-year-old, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, was stabbed in the neck 3 times in Charlotte. 3 times by somebody who had been in and out of jail dozens of times, arrested, and was known for, amongst his family, that he had a mental illness. And I thought, how did this person get out? Why are they roaming the streets? And how does this benefit society, this high recidivism rate? Well, it doesn't. It's a negative. It's a net negative on society. So why are Charlotte leaders not doing what they need to do to put a curb in the crime? I don't know. I'm going to play a few clips because this was a very egregious crime. I don't know if anybody saw. I didn't watch the actual poking. I saw her on the ground, and then the next clip, she's bleeding out. People are talking about how long it took for folks to get involved. I think this story is multifaceted. I think people are afraid to get involved. A lot of people mind their business, and certain cities are turning into Gotham City because criminals reign free, and the magistrates and the judges allow this revolving door. Like I said, this guy was in and out of jail 14 times he was in and out of jail. But I'm going to play some of the Charlotte leaders and let you hear what they have to say about this atrocious crime.
Our hearts go out to Irina's family. They are suffering like any of us would be. It was a very touching call. Our hearts go out to them. She is a refugee. She literally came to the United States from a bomb shelter in Ukraine to escape the war, and she was going about her day. She was coming home from work on a light rail train, like all of us do all the time, and she was brutally murdered. As a native of Charlotte, I'm so sad to say that our city has gotten to this place.
We will continue to work with U.S. Attorney Ferguson, the Department of Justice under the direction of Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the FBI Director Patel to pursue justice for Irina and her family and for the people of Charlotte.
Very sad, right? Very unfortunate situation. 22-year-old on her way home from work gets poked in the chest by somebody who has been in and out of jail for previous charges, some of them similar. What's going on in Charlotte that we have such high recidivism rates? I did some research and I found that from a sample size of 12,889 people, which was released from the NC State Prisons fiscal year 2021, 44% of that sample size were rearrested within 2 years. 18% of them were reconvicted. 33% were sent back to prison within those 2 years. Once again, what's going on within Charlotte that these criminals are getting off scot-free is citizens have to walk around looking over their shoulders. Now, I'm from Charlotte by way of Erie, Pennsylvania. My husband is from Charlotte. I don't think I ever really felt the need to look over my shoulder and be weary of just walking around. If you were, especially 2008, 2009, which is my senior year, being downtown in the uptown area, going to the aquatic center, going to the Bobcats games, getting on the light rail, getting on the transit, it wasn't really like you're clutching your pearls, you're scared to get on these, public means of transportation. It wasn't scary. It just was what it was. But to know that it's morphed into Gotham City because magistrates, and this is something that Steven Crowder talked about on his show, and I'll show you guys as well, magistrates are not even required to have law degrees in Charlotte. I didn't know this. Let me pull this up real quick. I had no clue this was even a thing. You're not required to have a law degree? Like, what? Is that not crazy? Hold on, I had the PDF pulled up. I don't know where it went. One second. Let me pull this up. Here we go. The qualifications. This is straight from the North Carolina General Assembly website, nclegislative.gov. You guys can look this up yourself. And I'm going to put it right here on the screen so that you all can see it. This actually pretty much blew my mind to know that stuff like this is going on and people that aren't even qualified to be doing the jobs, doing these jobs, are in charge of criminals being in and out of jail, which makes me think if they're going around the whole, you don't need a law degree to participate. I'm going to say that there's a lot that's probably slipping through the cracks because you're hiring people that aren't necessarily qualified for the job. So the qualifications for nomination, renomination: in order to be eligible for nomination or renomination as a magistrate, an individual shall be a resident of North Carolina, and the individual shall either be a resident of the county for which the magistrate is seeking nomination or renomination, or a resident of the county that is contiguous to that county. To be eligible for nomination as a magistrate, an individual shall have at least 8 years experience as a clerk of superior court in a county of this state, or as a law enforcement officer in the state. Okay, so you have to have years of experience or be a law enforcement officer. You shall also, or shall have a 4-year degree from an accredited senior institution of higher education. That's scary, because what if they go to an accredited school that's not necessarily a school that's actually teaching them the law and the proper application of the law and how they should be treating these inmates that keep reoffending. But we'll keep going. Shall have a 2-year associate's degree and 4 years of work experience in a related field, including, and this was really odd to me, teaching, social services, law enforcement, arbitration, or mediation, the court system, or counseling. Why would we want people that have experience, and this is just how my mind is working, people that have experience in social services, I'm going to say that they're going to take a more lenient approach rather than sticking to the law and how people should be charged according to the law. So it seems like a bunch of people are slipping through the cracks and they're able to attain these jobs and not necessarily be qualified for them. I think that this is horrible qualifications. Horrible. You don't even have to have a law degree. That's pretty much what this is saying. You don't even have to have a law degree. You don't even have to be a lawyer. You just have to have a 4-year degree from an accredited senior institution of higher education. You have to be at least 8 years, have at least 8 years of experience as a clerk of Superior Court. I'm not saying that people who do this job and they take it serious and they probably study law on the side, I'm not saying that they can't do jobs like this. Of course they can. But when looking at the high recidivism rates in Charlotte, North Carolina, one has to wonder, is stuff like this the reason that we have people getting poked in the neck on subway, on light rails? Is this why places like Chicago look the way they do? This man was released from jail over a dozen times, put right back out into society, knowing he's got issues, and there's really no program there to address him specifically as far as mental illness goes. And really, it doesn't seem, according to lawmakers in North Carolina, they're likely to propose tougher pretrial release laws after fatal stabbing, which is good. You want your government to respond. But like I read to you earlier, based on statistics that I pulled from 2021, from a sample size of 12,889 people, 44% of those people were rearrested within 2 years. And 18% of them were reconvicted. He had been arrested as many as 14 plus times for violent crimes that include robbery, assault. He's documented having mental health issues. And this has been a problem in Charlotte, North Carolina for a long time. This brings me to if you're going to complain about it, at least do something about it, right? I'm happy that lawmakers are taking it upon themselves to do something. But, someone already lost their life. The recidivism rates in Charlotte are extremely high. I think I even looked, I don't want to get it wrong, somewhere with between a 300% increase in young people as far as the recidivism rate goes. 60% of those youth reoffend. That's just young people. And then that insanely gross stat that we just talked about, out of that 12,000 people, 44% of them people are rearrested. How do we fix that? How do Americans get involved? Can you get involved? You can. I'm doing this because not only am I a resident, but I'm also connected to people that decided they wanted to step up and do something about the crime that was happening in their homes, in their areas. And that's actually my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, Marcus and Jackie Philman. I'm going to have my father-in-law come on to the podcast to interview him about this resource that he created called Charlotte Mecklenburg Court Watch. It's a really good tool. Pretty much, they are going to these, the criminals, they're going to their court hearings, They're tracking the judges that are seeing them, and they compile all this data, and then they give it back to the people in order for them to know which people they should be voting in and which people they should be leaving off of the ballot completely, because you're not doing your job. Crime is increasing. You're continuing to release criminals that are going to reoffend. My father-in-law saw a need and they met it. Now, I don't want to explain Charlotte Mecklenburg Court Watch. I want him to come on and explain it. And hopefully this gets a lot of people interested and involved in how to fix the criminality in your areas. This is one of my favorite things about Malcolm X. He really encouraged people to get involved in their cities and their counties and become leaders in their own communities. And what better way to do that than to do your best to put a curb and put a curb in crime by holding these judges accountable. If they know they're not going to get reelected and you're going to boot them out, they might be more inclined to do their job. But if we're not holding them accountable because we're not paying attention to their track record and the revolving door that they keep creating, then what else can we do? We have to get involved. Knowing that the bare minimum is required to be in these positions is crazy to me. No law degree. You don't have to be a practicing lawyer. You don't have to pass the bar, but you can go be a magistrate and continue to give someone bond after bond, probation violation after probation violation, and nothing's happening. They keep reoffending. I think there's a bigger issue here. I'm hoping that interview comes on Friday after this podcast here, this first episode, which was a rough one. Please bear with me. It'll get better. I want to bring him on to explain to you all how you can use this as a tool and resource in your own communities, because what happened in Charlotte is not isolated. Violence is increasing across the nation. I know Trump wants to send in federal, agents. He wants to send in not law enforcement, but the National Guard to assist law enforcement with the crime. But the federal government won't always be there. And contrary to what I believe, it's not a solution. It's a Band-Aid to a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is putting people back in positions that they don't belong in because they're not doing their job. We need judges and magistrates to actually do their job and hold people accountable for the crimes that they're committing, and make sure that the judgments that you're rendering match the crime that they've committed. I'm not saying throw the book at somebody and lock them away for years, but if it's a reoccurring situation, then that person needs to sit down for a while, and maybe with some extra reforming in the prison world, we can actually get people back out into society that can re-enter and not be stuck with it's like you're a social pariah in society when you've gone to jail and you're a felon, but you went to jail and actually changed your ways. Not saying that there aren't opportunities out there, because there are, but this is a multifaceted issue. Reform is necessary, and people's involvement, you all being involved in your communities, is necessary. So make sure you guys tune in on Friday. I will post specifics, what time, where to watch it, where I get to interview my father-in-law, Marcus Philman, on Court Watch, and how this is a absolutely useful, necessary tool for people in 2025 to go implement in their cities. Thank you all for riding it out with me today. It was a rough start. It was a rough start, but it's the first show back. This is a one-woman show. I don't have anybody on the side making sure my transitions are good. The sound is straight. Thank you to all the people who showed up. I'm going to edit this video, re-upload it, and then you guys will get to come back on Friday and get live information on how you can get involved in your cities and your counties. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace out.
Welcome to Factionless. We bow.